Yasodanandana Vajajanhanjaya Jamunatiravan Jamu Jamunatiravan Jamu Gopijanna Vallabha Girivardha Harira Gopijanna Vallabha Harira Gopijanna Vallabha Girivardha Harira Giri Suranandana Vajajanhanjaya Yasoranandana Vajajanhanjaya Jamunatiravan Jamu Jamunatiravan Jamu Jayarhatha Madhava Kunjavihara Radha Madhava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari Bha Hari Bha Hari Bha Hari Bha Nitai Gaur Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahams Parivajaka Acharya Astotra Satra Shri Sriman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Raj Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Lalita Vishaka ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari. Glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Canto 5, Chapter 18. This is the residents of Jambudweep offer prayers, and this is verse 16 and 17. 17 is the verse on the board. So we generally don't chant the prose, so we'll do the word for word. Tat, that Bhagavata of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maya Mayam, full of affection for the devotees. Rupam, form. Parama, highest. Samadhi Yogena, by absorption of the mind in the service of the Lord. Rama, the goddess of fortune. Devi, divine woman. Samvatsarasya, known as Samvatsara. Ratrishu, during the nights. Prajapate, of Prajapati. Durit, with the daughters. Upeta, combined. Ahasu, during the days. Cha, also. Tat Bhartribi, with the husbands. Upaste, worships. Idam, this. Cha, also. Udaharati, chants. So I'll read verse 16 and then we'll read this verse 17. 16, translation. In the Ketu Mala Varsa, Lord Vamadev Pramuma moves very graciously. His mild smile is very beautiful, and when he increases the beauty of his face by slightly raising his eyebrows and glancing playfully, he pleases the goddess of fortune. Thus he enjoys his transcendental senses. Verse 17. Accompanied during the daytime by the sons of Prajapati, the predominant deities of the day, and accompanied at the night by his daughters, the deities of the night, Lakshmi Devi worships the Lord during the period known as Samvatsara in his most merciful form as Kamadev. Fully absorbed in devotional service, she chants the following mantra. So that mantra is the next verse. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The word Maya, Mayam, used in this verse should not be misunderstood, should not be understood according to the interpretation of the Mayavadis. The word Maya, Mayam, used in this verse should not be understood according to the interpretation of the Mayavadis. Maya means affection as well as illusion. When the mother deals with her child affectionately, she is called Maya, Maya. In whatever form the Supreme Lord Vishnu appears, he is always affectionate towards his devotees. Thus, the word Maya, Mayam is used here to mean very affectionate towards his devotees. Srila Jiva Goswami writes in this regard that Maya Mayam can also mean Kripa Pracharum, deeply merciful. Similarly, Srila Veera Raghava says, Mayam pachoranatmiyam saukapena parigrithitam ityartam jnana paryayadra maya sabdaha. When one is very affectionate towards an intimate relation, one is described as Maya Maya. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains Maya, Mayam, by dividing it into the words Maya and Amayam. He explains these words to indicate that because the living entity is covered by the disease of illusion, the Lord is always eager to deliver his devotees from the clutches of Maya and cure him from the disease caused by the illusory energy. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyana Jana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiguro Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavamscha Shirupam Sagrajatam Sahakarat Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Piyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So there are many important statements in this particular purport. Prabhupada expands on the particular word Maya, Mayam. And he dispels any misconceptions that people have about this word Maya. And Prabhupada says Maya can mean many things. We generally understand the word Maya to mean the influence of the illusory material energy. That is the common definition. But there are many others, and in this particular verse, the other definitions are explained. Prabhupada says Maya also means mercy. Mercy. And here, taking the word mercy and adding an element, he gives it another definition, affection. Affection. That the expression of the Lord's relationship with the living entities, particularly those who suffer in this material world, is based on affection. And Prabhupada explains how Krishna is very affectionate in all the manifestations of his incarnations. Of course, we may feel more attraction and a feeling affection for a certain manifestation. And of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Karuna avatar. He is the most merciful, and so his affection is very much present within the lives of the devotees. But Krishna is not relegated only to one manifestation of himself. All his forms are very affectionate. Why? Because it is just natural for the father to love the children. So the father's love for the children doesn't change from one, what we say, interaction with the children from another. It's always there, but it may be expressed differently. It may be expressed differently. With Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we understand that affection is, he's giving us something very direct, simple, that brings us to the stage of freedom from material suffering. In other words, that's the mercy. And that is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But it's more than just purification of the heart, it's connecting with the Lord. And this is the main point. The Lord brings about a type of mercy that allows the living entity to reconnect with Him. It says here that the living entity is covered by something that is unnatural. And because of that unnatural covering, there is a sense of suffering. Actually, the living entity cannot suffer. The living entity is pure spiritual energy. Ananda Chinmaya Ras is pure energy. It's Jiva Sarupai Krishna Nityadas. It's part of Krishna. It's non-different than Krishna, but in smaller proportion. Therefore, the living entity can never be subjected to the sufferings of the material world. But like a dream, when a person dreams at night, we take on another realm of existence. We go into this dream state and we start experiencing things that are maybe similar, but at the same time different than our waking consciousness. And in that state, we are being helplessly, what we say, brought through a certain energy, and we have no control over that. And sometimes when you're in the dream state, you see yourself dreaming, right? You watch yourself in the dream. Have you had that experience? Who's the person in the dream and who's watching? Which one is the real one? So the idea is the person in the dream is simply a manifestation of the mind. It's a creation of a conception we have of our own identity, which is our material identity, of course. And the person is watching is actually the soul. But it has nothing to do with the state of existence in the dream. But at the same time, it's being brought into the dream because it identifies itself with the person in the dream as being me. You follow? So this material world, in its waking sense, is the same thing. We're dreaming, or we're in this illusionary energy. That's why it's called illusion, because it's something different than what it actually is. And one of the principles of this illusionary energy, it makes you forget who you actually are. And you create a new role based on that. You might say there's a particular disease that people have when they have an accident. It's called amnesia. You've heard of that. Sometimes the people will fall and hit their head and forget who they are, and they can't remember anything. Actually, there's a story where this was actually a story that happened many years ago in the United States. It was in the newspapers. One man, he decided to go visit another place in America, which he hadn't been before. But when he left, he actually forgot his wallet, his ID. He didn't have his ID with him. So while he was there, he slipped and fell and hit his head. And of course, people came to see what was wrong. They tried to help him, bring him back. When he woke up, he completely forgot his identity. And because he had no personal ID on him, no one else knew who he was, and he didn't know who he was. So, what to do? So, doesn't know anything, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know where he came from, doesn't know the people around him. So he begins a new life. So he meets a girl, gets married again, and starts to begin his life all over in the world. About 7 years later, he falls again. And he hits his head again. And this time, when he wakes up, he remembers his previous identity, the one that was before this one. So, what to do? Now he has two material identities, and he's not sure which one is the real one. So, material life is like that. Throughout the time in our existence, we take on these identities. Of course, the original illusion is that we identify ourselves with the material body. And here, Prabhupada says, it's a disease. It's not something small. It's actually an ailment to think oneself different than one actually is. We call that craziness. If a man starts walking around and starts coming into the temple and says, I am Mr. Modi, and he starts dictating the new law he wants to enact, everybody will either laugh at him, and if he continues, he'll probably get arrested. So he may think he's Mr. Modi, but the real Mr. Modi is somewhere else. So in the same way, the living entity takes on these identities due to the association of material energy. And that causes one to forget the goal of life and the relationship with the Supreme Lord. And therefore Krishna, it says here, Krishna is very affectionate towards his devotees, and therefore he wants to bring back the living entity's awareness of their real identity. So that's the nature of his affection. Krishna may show his affection in different ways by giving the person something. But his real mercy is that he somehow or other arranges that person to come to devotional service. That is his real mercy. And then when that mercy starts to manifest in form of activities, then the living entity starts to becoming free from this disease. This disease of janasamoham yamaham mameti. I am, this is. These are the two forms of the ailment. Just like when you have a disease, you may show certain symptoms of the disease. Like if a person has like typhoid, they can't eat solid foods. And they are very weak and very much subjected to so many other forms of ailments. So these are symptoms of a particular disease. So the disease of the material identity is, I think this is mine, and I think these people belong to me, and I think I am this body. These are the symptoms of this disease. Well, one who practices devotional service awakens to the reality of one's existence. And that is Krishna's affection. Krishna shows his affection in different ways. And as we were mentioning, the devotee wants to somehow or other reciprocate Krishna's affection by being attached to serving Krishna. And this is the element which brings one to one's pure consciousness again, through the mode of service. Sometimes we see in our practice of Krishna consciousness, things can get a little difficult. And maybe there's too much austerity, and sometimes the service becomes difficult, or just the material energy is pressing down hard upon the living being. even though the devotees engage in devotional service. But the devotee doesn't think, oh, I should somehow or other find relief. We see that in the material world. When somebody has difficulties with something, they go away or they look for some way to relieve the difficulty, rather than facing the situation and overcoming it. You might say, just like, things get too difficult, let me just take rest. Or let me just eat a little bit more prasadam. Or let me just go on a holiday. In other words, one looks for some material way to relieve the distress and difficulty. It may come in the process of executing one's devotional service. But that means accepting mercy from another source. Rather than taking Krishna's mercy, one may take that same, may look for mercy in another way, in the material world, or in something less than devotional service. Bilvamangala Thakur, he writes a very beautiful statement in the Krishna Karnamrita, where he explains, my dear Lord, without your mercy, what is the use of anybody else's mercy? I only want your mercy. And with your mercy, what is the use of anybody else's mercy? So from both sides, if I have your mercy, I don't want anybody else. And if I don't have your mercy, I still don't want anyone else. I'll simply wait for your mercy. We see the gopis. Gopis are illustrated. They are compared to Chataka birds. A Chataka bird, it's a particular type of bird that goes towards the cloud in the sky. And it drinks water right directly from the rain cloud. It's attracted to the rain cloud. And so it waits for the cloud to give rain. Now, the bird might be thirsty and there might be water somewhere else, but the bird won't go there. It wants the water only from the rain cloud. And sometimes the cloud gives some lightning, some thunder, some difficulty to the bird, but the bird doesn't go away. The bird simply tolerates the difficulty and waits for the mercy of the rain cloud. So, in our execution of Krishna consciousness, the process of purification is like putting what we say, if you want to purify metal from a particular substance, just like gold, may have some tarnish on it, you have to use some fire to get rid of that tarnish. So the fire of Krishna consciousness is purifying. It may burn sometimes. What is that burning? I have to tolerate the difficulties that come by way of Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, Adhidaivik. But those we can tolerate. Those we know about. But there's another kind of difficulty, and Krishna explains about that. Tate nukampa shushamikshamanam bhujaneva kripa vipakam vidvava hubir vidadanam muste jiveti yo mukti padeshadaya bhak. This is the type of tolerance that brings one to the spiritual world, where Krishna gives the devotee some difficulty. Krishna arranges the difficulty. We talk about affection. If Krishna is so affectionate, why would he give someone he loves some difficulty or allow for the difficulty to happen? You might think, what kind of God is that? I don't want to worship that God. I want the God who's, when I offer prayers, he's there to give me my prayers like that. Dehi, Dehi, Dehi. That's the kind of God I like. But that's not Krishna. That's not but the bhakti. Bhakti means to accept the mercy of the Lord in whatever form it comes. In whatever form it comes. And Krishna is very merciful. So sometimes he'll put his devotee in difficult situations just to show, to do two things actually. To purify that devotee from some material attachment or some wrong understanding of the execution of devotional service. He's not performing the service right. Some little, let me say, kick. It's a slight little slap, but not very hard. A wake-up call, more like. And what else? Why else does he do that? Sometimes just to glorify his devotee. That despite the devotees being kicked a little bit, the devotee doesn't go away. He doesn't go away. He tolerates it. And then, as the verse said, my dear Lord, thank you. Not only are you giving me trouble, but I like it. Because I know you're all good. From one side, something is good, and from the other side, something is not good. So we look at something good and bad from two different angles. This is good, this is bad. But this is the nature of material illusion. Based on what I like and don't like, I designate this is good, this is bad. So some people, just like now, it's a little cold. So some people say, oh, this is bad. Other people say, nah, it's nice. I like it. Yeah, I know one devotee, he loves cold weather. He can't stand anything warm. He just loves the cold. But other people can't associate him with him because, he's just the way he is. So is the cold good or is the cold bad? It's neither. It's just what it is. So we put designations on something, or when we say labels, opinions, but it's all Maya. It's all what we say, mental speculation. Bhadra Bhadra Kalay, what is that verse? Sakale Saman, E Manda, E Bala, E Brahma, like that. Lord Chaitanya speaks that. Some people say this is good, and some people say this is bad. I say it's all mental speculation. Because in this world, both good and bad is just opinions, that's all. It's somebody's opinion. So, but what Krishna does something to his devotee that may be looking like it's not good, inauspicious, difficult, it's always good. There was one Christian, I read this actually it was a life history about this one Christian who was he was a monk in a monastery somewhere in Europe. And he was a pot washer. That was his service. He would just wash the pots. But everyone came to him for spiritual advice because he was the most learned in the monastery. Although he was the simple pot washer, he took the most insignificant service. Still, if you wanted spiritual direction or knowledge, you could ask him. So people would come to him for favors, and they would say, oh, I am sick. Can you please pray to God to help me get cured? He would say, I can't do that, because God has given you this for some reason, and I might be going against God's will. So I can't do that. In other words, when anyone asks for some material benefit because of some material difficulty, he would say, it's God's will. You try to understand why and how you can benefit from this. I can't pray to create something different. And Prabhupada also told us that too. When Prabhupada was undergoing a lot of physical difficulty, this was in 1974, the devotees were praying for Prabhupada. They were praying for Krishna, to Krishna, please, help cure Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada found out about that, they actually started this all over the whole ISKCON society. They were doing 24-hour kirtans in most of the temples to help to get Prabhupada's health back. But Prabhupada, when he found out, he said, you should not pray to Krishna to cure me, but you should say, my dear Lord, if you so desire, cure my spiritual master. If you so desire. So he added that element. The prayer is there, but whatever Krishna wants, that's what I want. Whatever Krishna wants, that's what, because Krishna is all good. There's nothing bad in Krishna because Krishna cannot be bad. His nature is, he's good. Even if he's killing someone, he's killing a demon or causing someone to suffer, he's all good. But people don't understand that, and therefore they petition God for material change, material benefit. But a devotee knows that the real difficulty is Maya, my identification with this material body and the activities that come from that identification. And therefore, that is the real suffering. Therefore, the Lord descends in the form of the holy name. Kali Kale Namarupa Krishna Avatar. And by chanting the holy name, but not just chanting the holy names, we're chanting the holy names, but Prabhupada explains that one has to chant in a certain mood. What is that mood? Begging Krishna for his mercy. The holy name is merciful. It is the most merciful manifestation of the Lord. And the holy name is easily available. Therefore, it's even more merciful because it makes no conditions. Anyone can chant, anytime, any place. But at the same time, one has to understand that if one really wants to get the mercy of the holy name, one should chant with feeling. In other words, Krishna, save me. Without your mercy, there is no other mercy. As Bilvamangal Thakur says, your mercy is the only mercy. I don't want any other mercy. And if it doesn't come, I'll wait for your mercy, somehow or other, like that. So, this verse, or at least Srila Prabhupada's purport, really helps us to understand the nature of Krishna. He is very kind to his devotees. I mean, some people like God because he's beautiful, and people like God because he's wealthy, he's famous, he's pretty strong also. And, and he also doesn't need anything. But why is God attractive? Because he's merciful. I mean, I'm sure we all know somebody who is rich, beautiful, powerful, but he may be a rotten person. He may be cruel, he may be stingy, he may, exploit others. Now he's wealthy, he might be good looking, so many things. But if people like him, they don't like him, they like what they can get from him. This is like the Avanti Brahmin, the story of the Avanti Brahmin. How the Avanti Brahmin, he was wealthy, he had so much money, but he was cruel, he got money by anybody. But his family members and friends stayed with him because they could get money from him. Well, when he lost everything, by the arrangement of province, everything he had was taken away. Everybody rejected him. They didn't want anything to do with him. They just think, you're useless. They had no affection or no care for him because he now couldn't give them anything. If you love someone, no matter what situation they're in, that love stays, whether they're rich, poor, or whatever they are. So Krishna is very kind. Although his opulences are many, wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, strength, renunciation, but his kindness is what attracts the devotees. Because it makes all these other opulences attractive. So Krishna is very merciful. He's very kind to his devotee. And therefore, he wants to get, and he shows his kindness by giving us the process of pure devotional service. He gives us a chance to free ourselves from the illusion of material energy by his mercy, coming in the form of the holy name, association with his devotees, Krishna Prasadam, and the process of pure devotional service. Well, this is Krishna. He shows his affection in any way. He reminds us, you don't want to be happy doing that. Your happiness is with me, right? Sometimes he reminds us when we get off, a little reminder, this is Krishna. So Prabhupada says, Maya, Mayam, is used very affectionate, not just affectionate, extremely affectionate. We cannot reciprocate his affection. As a child cannot show the love that the father has for the child. The child cannot reciprocate on the same level. But still, the child tries. He tries. So we should try to reciprocate Krishna's affection and mercy by taking shelter of devotional service and finding everything we need in devotional service, not looking outside for whatever else. As the Chitaka bird only wants the water from the cloud, as Bilba Mangala Thakur only wants Krishna's mercy, the devotees only want devotional service. That's all. And the association of others engaged in devotional service. So this is a very nice purport. And the verse is all about Lakshmi Devi, who was attracted to the beautiful form of Kamana Devi. And in the next verse, she expresses that attraction in a beautiful form of a beautiful prayer she offers. So, I don't have any watch. What time is it? It's over there, 8:29. Okay. Any questions? Comments? Like that? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful description. I had this request that for today's purport, the word of focus is Maya Maya, which means very affectionate.
Yeah.
So I had a humble request. Please would you like to share with us how you saw Prabhupada as Maya Maya? How you saw? Please, if you would like to share.
How my personal experience understanding Prabhupada as very affectionate. Well, affection expresses itself in different ways. There's a natural sweet emanation of affection that comes on the emotional level. And Prabhupada was very kind towards his devotees. There was one story where Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and it was Guru Puja, and the devotees were offering flowers to Srila Prabhupada, coming up and very nicely offering flowers. And the kirtan was glorifying Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was sitting there. And then one devotee, Jai Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. And one devotee, he came to offer flowers to Srila Prabhupada. And while he was offering flowers, Prabhupada noticed that he had a mark, a cut actually a pretty bad cut on his leg. So Prabhupada immediately called him over and said, "Are you taking care of that cut?" And he didn't know what to say. This was in the middle of a Guru Puja. So he said, "Oh yes, Prabhupada." Prabhupada turned to his secretary who was sitting next to him, said, "Give me a pencil and some paper." And this is what the Guru Puja is going on. So the devotee hands Prabhupada pencil, and Prabhupada writes down some medicine. Because Prabhupada was a pharmacist, he knew all about medicine. And so Prabhupada writes this medicine, and he gives it, he said, "Here, you go and you get this medicine and put it on that cut. It will heal the cut." Like that. So right in the middle of the Guru Puja. So Prabhupada, sometimes he would show this personal concern to his devotees just without any apparent reason. Because love extends itself in a complete way. So Prabhupada was concerned the devotees would take care of their health also. He always used to write that. He signed that every letter. "Hope this meets you in the best of health, your ever well-wisher A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami." That's how he signed all his letters. So he was also concerned with their physical well-being, along with, of course, their spiritual, But Prabhupada's affection was that he didn't compromise just to make people feel good. He didn't compromise the philosophy. Shrutikirti Prabhu would speak about this when he would speak about Prabhupada. He would say, one thing I always saw Prabhupada would get quite disturbed with, if someone would try to present some philosophy that was different, was wrong, was outside of devotional service. Prabhupada would become very disturbed. And Prabhupada made that point. We can adjust things in order to execute devotional service, but we cannot change the philosophy. We cannot change the Siddhanta. We cannot change the words of the Acharyas. We have to understand. Prabhupada's affection was that he didn't compromise in order to make people feel good. Sometimes somebody wanted some compromise like that. That was Prabhupada's affection. So affection may show itself in different ways like that. I mean, when Prabhupada was in the temple after the class, the kids would always be sitting in the class too. The ones that were quiet, not the noisy ones. And during the class, then after the class, Prabhupada would call for cookies. And then someone would bring a tray of cookies. And then the kids would come up and they would, Prabhupada, smiling, give each child a cookie. And I've even met some devotees now, they're in their 30s now, 40s, they said, "I got a cookie from Prabhupada when I was a kid," They still remember that. So that was Prabhupada. He gave a cookie 40 years ago, and they still remember that affection that Prabhupada showed them by giving him cookies. I think if we give cookies to anybody, they like it, even us grown-up children. So Prabhupada showed his affection, his concern, his care in different ways, according to the person. To be affectionate means to be Krishna conscious also. Natural love for Krishna is an affectionate love for Krishna. It's intimate. So that love expresses itself towards everything, not only towards Krishna, but towards his devotees and towards people in general, by giving them a chance to practice Krishna consciousness. So affection is not simply relegated to a certain mood. It's the concern for another person's well-being, another person's happiness. Anything else? Any other questions? Did you understand my first question? Answer to my first question.
I'm sorry, Maharaj.
Did you understand the first answer?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Most
Okay,
perfect.
you have a second question.
Yes, I do.
Okay. There's a question back there. And you can come next, because you have to digest the first one before you... It's like when you're eating, if you eat too fast, then you don't get digestion. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So one devotee here has a question that if we get sick sometimes, so should we pray to Krishna to cure ourselves or not?
We want to do devotional service, and therefore if our sickness is impeding our devotional service, it makes it difficult. We say, my dear Lord, somehow or other, I want to serve you, so please help me to continue to serve you. We don't pray directly for better health, because even better health may cause difficulties in other ways. What we pray for is devotional service. So if our service is being impaired by our sickness, then we try to overcome that sickness by becoming cured so we can serve nicely like that. But there's no need to pray for that. You just do the needful, that's all. We don't usually ask Krishna for anything like give me better health. We ask Krishna, give me service. We don't want to bother him with material things. But devotees, if devotees see other devotees that are sick or having difficulties, they should think, oh, if I can serve this devotee by helping him, and that will be service to Krishna also. So devotees usually take care of devotees in that way, like that. Okay. Fully digested? Okay.
So, last year I heard a lecture of Your Holiness, and that lecture was titled Art of Hearing. Maybe you gave that in Chowpatty, ISKCON Chowpatty or somewhere. And I was very much inspired by that. So I would like to request you, so would you please let me know how to best hear Prabhupada lectures?
Well, Srila Prabhupada makes a statement in the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, verse 43, purport, where he explains that one should hear with rapt attention. Rapt means full attention, keeping the process of hearing carefully on what is being spoken, not deviating the mind while one is hearing. But Prabhupada goes on to explain that one cannot hear with rapt attention if one is not pure in mind. If mind is not pure, then one cannot hear with rapt attention. And Prabhupada says, and if one is not pure, then in order to be pure in mind, one has to be pure in action. And therefore he said, then one cannot hear unless they're pure in action, which makes them pure in mind. But then he says, goes on to say, that one can become pure in action by becoming free from the tendency for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. In other words, regulating these things according to religious principles. And then he said, but somehow or other, try to hear. After saying all that, he gives a concession. I try to hear anyway. So in order to actually hear with absorption, one has to be pure in mind. So pure in mind means regulating our eating, sleeping, mating and defending, to what is absolutely necessary. If there's too much or too little in these categories, it'll affect the hearing process. Like that. It'll affect how we hear things. But practice hearing. Hearing can be practiced. When you hear something, do you actually understand it? You actually understand with your hearing. Because when a person speaks, there's also a mood that comes with the message. To pick up on the mood and the message is actually complete hearing and not just the message. Because sometimes Prabhupada will say certain things that are contrary. Let me think of an example. He would say, Krishna consciousness is easy. And then he would say, Krishna consciousness is very difficult. So which one is it? Is it easy or is it difficult? So I'll ask you, is Krishna consciousness easy? Well, pretty good. You guys are already advanced. Is Krishna consciousness difficult? Some of you raised twice. In fact, most of you raised twice. I guess you have deep realizations here. But these are two opposites. So, is it easy or difficult? Prabhupada says it's easy for those who are determined and difficult for those who are not determined. So, if you hear, oh, Krishna consciousness is easy, oh, gee, yeah, it's easy. I just take some prasadam and read some books. And if I got some time, I'll do something. Oh, but Krishna consciousness is difficult. Oh my God, I'm working so hard and I'm tired. It's difficult. So Prabhupada explains both are true according to whether you have determination or not. If you have determination, it's easy. If you don't, then you have to get determination. Otherwise, it'll become impossible. Like that. So the mood of hearing, or the element of hearing, means to pick up on the message and not just the sound of the words, like that. Just like you chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said, we can teach a parrot to chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then when the bird comes, bird, 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 bird. So that's not real chanting. When we're chanting Hare Krishna and difficulties come, then we say, we dial 911, looking for some outside help. No, we take shelter of the same thing we're doing, whether it's good or whether it's bad. The holy name is there. So the message is to understand what is being said in such a way that you can apply it in your day-to-day life. That's why questions are simply there for clarification. You said this, but what do you actually mean? That's why we ask a question like that. You said this, but what do you actually mean? Okay. So it may be different. And one meaning for one person may be different for another person. Like that. What was it? Prabhupada tells the story of a person who learns from the person's a veterinarian, so he has an apprentice. He's teaching him how to work on animals also. A veterinarian is an animal doctor. So one time a horse comes in, and the horse has a big lump in his throat. So the doctor calls for a hammer and starts hitting the horse in the throat where the lump is. And the horse is, different. And then finally the lump goes away and the horse is fine. So this is his apprentice, his student is learning. So he sees that. So a horse comes in and he's got a lump in his throat and he starts hitting the horse and the horse is screaming. So his teacher comes along and says, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm doing with the same thing you did. He said, "You fool. That other horse had a watermelon stuck in his throat. I was just breaking it up so he could swallow it." So when you watch something, or sometimes when you hear something, it may be different as it applies in different circumstances like that. So that's why rapt attention helps us to at least question what we're hearing. So that class that I gave on hearing, and there's 4 elements for perfect hearing. And this is from Padma Puran. Whereas one should have faith in the speaker, one should be willing to accept what is being, in other words, one should be receptive to the message. One should be humble, that's what it says. One should hear in a mood of humility. And then the third thing, and this is important, one should destroy the faults of the mind. Destroying the faults of the mind means when the mind wanders somewhere else, you bring it back to the process of hearing. And if you follow these first 3, the fourth thing is 2 things happen. 1, you get realizations on what you hear, or 2, you get questions. So if you don't get either realizations or questions, that means you're not hearing properly. Some realization means it awakens you to some understanding like that. Like that. So that's from Padma Purana. And let's explain the faith in the speaker, humility, destroying, not allowing the mind to wander to other thoughts, and bringing it back to the sound like that. Practice. So I think that's the class I gave in, like that. Yeah. Fourth is 2 things happen. Either you get realizations or questions. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mataji, you had a question too? Yeah, okay. After him.
Mm-hmm. Hare Krishna. One thing I wanted to ask, many times we have to follow we hear the instructions of spiritual master or the authorities, but generally we try to follow, but we always lack. I always lack following to the fullest. So there are too many things to do, but time also falls short in a day. So we are
I'm trying to find out which instruction to follow. Is that your question?
No, means I am never able to properly follow all the instructions.
All of the instructions. Well, try your best. Get some help. If you have some difficulty, then you can ask. I can't follow this instruction, or I'm having difficulty, maybe you can help me. That's all. You ask some devotee, you ask the spiritual master, like that. It's not like we can't do it, so we keep trying and we keep failing, but we don't change. And that's pride. Pride means, I'm going to do it, I don't need to help anybody else's help. If you can do it, do it. But if you can't, get help. It's not that you shouldn't. You should always ask for help. But if you need help, then you should ask for help. Yeah. some understanding, some assistance, something.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mataji?
Thank you, Maharaj, for your wonderful class. Mata, the question, Kishori Mataji, that what should be our prayers while doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting?
While we're chanting, we should be in the mood of calling out to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains that the word Hare is in the vocative, which means it's in the mood of calling. So when you're saying Hare Krishna, you're saying, O Krishna, O Radha and Krishna. So the mood is that I'm helpless, I need your mercy. You can't simply conquer the holy name by our determination. We should be determined to chant, but we should also be determined to call out to Krishna for his mercy, to be in that mood. It's a mood of calling. It's a mood of asking him to show mercy by manifesting the holy name within our hearts and minds like that. So that's the mood for chanting. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, in your discourse you mentioned that in an instant when someone asks us to pray to Lord, if they're suffering something in this material world, and we should tell them that, this is for your benefit.
No, don't do that.
Yes, because I don't have that realization myself, so...
Don't you misunderstand me. You should pray that, my dear Lord, if you want me to get better, then give me your mercy. In other words, if you're sick, you should think, well, I'm sick, but let me do some devotional service. People get sick, people get well, people get sick again, people get well, people get sick again. This goes back and forth. And of course, we'd like everyone to be healthy, and we always wish everyone good health. Prabhupada always wished everyone good health. But the real problem is that we're suffering from a lack of understanding the goal of life. Our real goal is Krishna consciousness. So we don't wish anyone to suffer, and if they're suffering and they ask us to pray for better health, we say, I will pray for your better health. I will say, my dear Lord, if you so desire, cure my friend. We don't want to interfere with Krishna's plan, that's all. And if Krishna wants to cure them, he can do that. He can do it immediately.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.